Good afternoon, everybody. Robin Strongin here with Health Dame, and today I have the absolute pleasure to be talking with Neil Trautwein, who is a friend, a colleague from way back when, Neil. I know our paths have crossed on Capitol Hill many a time, and we both work and continue to dabble, as they say, in health policy, both of us with a particular interest in the neurologic and brain health space. And I'm speaking with Neil, who we're going to get to meet in just a moment, who's been very forthcoming in public about his recent diagnosis with ALS, and really just a man of absolute grace and charm and courage and selflessness with all the work, Neil, that you're doing in advocacy and research. And we're going to dive deep into it, but it really is a pleasure to get to have this conversation with you. So what I'd like to start with, Neil, is if you want to take a minute or two to just sort of introduce yourself a little bit about the work you were doing in the healthcare world, health policy space, because it was really important work. And then we'll get into sort of where we are today. But give us a little overview, if you would, and welcome.
Well, thank you, Robin. I've been an apostle of employer-sponsored coverage throughout my career. I started off on the Hill back in the mid-'80s and got stuck in Washington like so many of us do.
Guilty. Yeah.
Guilty. But healthcare has always been a fascination. And at each stop of my career, the chamber, the NAM, the Retail Federation, that's always been my focus.
Yep.
So, at this point, I was a lobbyist throughout my career. I advocated for the interest of others, and as well as collectively. But now I find myself with a client of one.
Yes.
Advocating on my ALS and trying to move the ball forward. We hope we can find better remedies. We hope one day we'll find a cure. Tomorrow would be
100%.
wonderful.
Yeah, it really would. And so, Neil, remind me, when were you diagnosed? What year was it? It was recently.
It was a year ago this month, July 10, 2025. And like so many with this disease, they didn't know what I had. In fact, I probably had my first symptoms 2 or 3 years before they actually started down the rabbit hole.
Okay.
But I had a surgeon. They were going to tinker with my back because I've got squeezed nerves at the cervical side and at the lumbar side. So they were going to operate on me. And the surgeon looked at my hand. My left hand has the classic split hand signal.
Okay.
He said, "You better get some more tests done." And that's how I started down that.
Interesting. So you were spared the back surgery, but it led you to the ALS diagnosis, but it was an eagle-eye surgeon. Okay. Kudos to the surgeon.
Yes, Dr. Hamilton was wonderful.
Fantastic.
But eventually they figured out that I am part of the 10% of all ALS patients with a direct genetic cause for my ALS. I have the repeated C9orf72 gene, and that's what I inherited that from my mom's side.
Right.
And that's what led to my ALS.
Okay. All right. And you have gotten very involved with which organizations? I know I believe it's I AM ALS and the ALS Association. Is that correct? And there's a little siren going by, so forgive.
Yeah. There are a bunch of them out there.
Okay.
So I AM ALS is probably my number one advocacy organization. They also provide peer mentorship, but I've been able to work with the community in trying to drive change on Capitol Hill, and we have made progress. We've passed through the House the reauthorization for the Act for ALS. That was just on the 22nd of July.
Oh, congrats. Okay. Was that bipartisan, Neil? I imagine this is one area where there's not a lot of political disagreement, or am I incorrect?
It is so rare for healthcare, but Congressman Quigley and Calvert sponsored the House Bill 8205. It went through Energy and Commerce, E&C, for those of us who are active in this area, unanimously. No
Oh my
one.
God. Wow, 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 Neil.
So we were very, very happy for that. I think there are 104 sponsors or co-sponsors to the bill, and it also passed unanimously the other day through the House.
Wow.
So we were actually
The
that
Senate.
was, or the no, the House on, it was actually July 22nd.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Was the House vote. Both that House passed bill and the Senate bill, which are Senators Murkowski and Coons, S 4472. Both those bills are on the Senate calendar. So I'm hopeful we'll see a little bit of Senate magic and they'll figure out how to get this completed, get it to the president, get the president to sign it, and then we'll have 5 more years of progress on ALS research.
So it's primarily for funding for research.
Research and also access to expanded access programs. For folks like me, clinical trials are kind of the gold standard of science. It's the placebo versus the remedy, but they like to get you within a year, year and a half, 2 years at the outside of diagnosis. In my case, they won't want me because symptoms predated diagnosis. What the expanded access programs do is it gets, for a limited population, provides access to the remedy. No placebos, just straight.
Yeah.
So, it's something that's extremely valuable. The science continues. It's not choice between science and non-science, but it's a lifeline for folks like me with ALS.
Of course. And with the research, I know earlier we had a conversation and we were talking about, we feel like, first of all, number one, the brain health neurologic space is very difficult. It's very challenging for many reasons. And lots of research has been done to date. And it can never move quickly enough, but we are very hopeful, you and I, that we're seeing some true progress in research generally, right?
Yes, we'll keep our fingers crossed. But why it's so important to reauthorize Act for ALS?
Yeah.
It runs out September 30. October 1st, everything stops. So you don't want, while they're on the cusp of so many different things, clean to all kinds of different research opportunities, you don't want to break that progress.
No, that would be unbearably tragic if that happened. Are the odds good that they'll get it through, Neil? What are your folks hearing?
I'm cautiously optimistic.
Okay.
None of this stuff, as we know, comes easily. But
Is there anything we can do to help? How can we, as citizens, up on the hill from time to time, what can the average person do if we want to jump in and help get it to goal? What can we do?
I would contact my senators and urge them to co-sponsor and support passage.
Okay.
We were very, very fortunate to get the Senate majority whip. Senator Barrasso has co-sponsored the bill.
Fabulous.
It's important because he's a member of the leadership, but also important because he's a medical doctor. So he gets this.
He understands. Yeah.
So I'm hopeful we can whip this to completion.
Okay. All right. So through the ALS Association, how are you involved with the work that they're doing, and what should we know about that?
So I work with their advocacy efforts. One can never have enough pies in the fire, so to speak.
Exactly.
And so I work with them on that. But they provide a lot of support in the way of community meetings. I have a monthly meeting of peers. They have been extraordinarily generous in writing the supply closet to provide equipment to me.
Okay.
They call ALS the bankruptcy disease because it is upwards of $200,000 a year, with all told for care and equipment and all the rest. But they have been very generous in providing that to me.
I see. Okay. And the equipment, you mean like wheelchairs, medical equipment that's necessary for mobility and other functioning?
They do. They had a loaner wheelchair before my official wheelchair
Okay.
arrived, and that taught me a little bit how to run into walls and other such stuff. Can't go as fast as you think you want to.
Yes, that would be hard as a New Yorker because, yeah, speed is, yeah. Although I must say, yeah, I'm learning that speed is not always my friend. So one way or another, I've learned the hard way. For the monthly meetings, are those done like over Zoom or something online? They're not in person, or is it a combination?
Oh, it's a Zoom meeting, and in the post-pandemic world, I think
Sure.
we became accustomed to that.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
it's a good mix of people in different stages of the disease. So I've learned a lot from the people I talk to. The I AM ALS peer support works in a very similar way to that.
Okay. All
But
right.
in this journey, I feel like I feel like I've tried everything. I
How
started
so?
off
What do you mean?
2025 walking,
Okay.
and walking with a cane, walking with a rollator, walking with a walker, walking or driving a wheelchair. So it just seems like, as I've adjusted to the changing or the ever changing nature of the disease,
Mhm.
I think we're trying to give it away. We had quite an equipment barn down in
I can only imagine. Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
I feel pretty good. I feel like, I'm in a good place with my disease, and, I'm not falling down as much as I used to,
Right.
and trying to engineer around that. So I feel pretty good.
And you're able to still be really involved in so many of the things that you still love to do. We were told you have a beautiful family that you get to
Oh,
spend
yes.
time with, and obviously that's at the top of the list for things you enjoy.
Absolutely.
Yes. And but how has it been with friends and so on? Because I know when Brian, he had his diagnosis, and it was a very different disease, and it was a different situation. But it's interesting to see how people that you haven't even been in touch with for a long time suddenly are there, and they're helping, and they're reaching out, and it's a really, in that regard, it's a really lovely thing to know that people really are still there for you through thick and thin. At least that was our experience, and I know you've shared similarly.
It really, really has buoyed me up on along the way. You're old when you have so many people, and I've heard from people from all stages of career. I even have a group of old high school buddies that I meet with once a month,
How
and
fabulous.
so it is good, and it is good. I think the error would have been to curl up in a ball and say, "Woe is me."
Yeah. And that is a decision that I remember thinking, not as the person with the condition, but Brian and I were together for so long, it feels like we were one person by the, and you do make a conscious decision. Either I'm gonna see the beauty in what this new turn of events is, or I'm gonna throw the ball up, as you said. It takes work to keep the ball up and not down. It's every day. It takes a lot of work and energy, doesn't it?
It does, and so much of the burden is on you, my wife Janet, and other caregivers. Yes, I've got my problems, but they have to watch and see the decline, to manage that, to pull your pants up and say, keep at it. And it is just, the disease is terrible, but the effect on others, your loved ones, your caregivers, is just tremendous.
It is tremendous, but I'll let you in on a secret. If you really adore the person, it doesn't feel like a burden. It is sad. It is hard. You want to do so much for the other person, but in a different kind of way. It's a different kind of gift to be able to be there for somebody that really, you know, that's such a gratifying place to be able to be helping someone for whom, you know, you would do anything. And let me tell you, when I would get on the end of the phone with some of those insurance companies, I'm surprised I'm not in jail now. My language did get very Brooklyn from time to time, I will admit to that. But, you know, I wanted him to have what the doctor said he needed, full stop. So, yeah.
Most definitely. Sometimes you have to apply a little bit of Brooklyn English to the matter.
Yeah, you do to the matter, that's for sure. But but there it is. So say a little bit about what ALS is for folks who may not actually know what it is.
The full definition is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis.
Which is why I didn't want to attempt to try to say it.
So I usually say ALS.
Yeah, me too.
It's a debilitating disease. The voluntary neurons, my ability to touch, to type, to reach things. In my case, I have limb progression.
Okay.
So my legs, my arms, my hands, those are weak. I can talk.
Right.
I can breathe on my own. I can eat on my own. For other people with bulbar progression, they have those problems, and I may develop those eventually. But the basic issue is that it interrupts the voluntary nerves, and it's not an instant paralysis.
I see.
Type of thing, but it's a degradation. They work less well before that.
Okay. So that's how the progression. So and it just does it on its own time frame.
It does. It does. And there are two remedies out there. There is Radicava, which is an oral suspension, and something called Riluzole.
Okay. Yep.
Neither of those are gangbusters. Neither of those are, as my neurologist says, they're very subtle. I could only tolerate the Radicava, so I feel like I'm missing out on whatever else the Riluzole would have given me.
Oh, you were taking both, but you were not able to tolerate it, so you're on the one treatment.
Exactly.
I see. Okay. But there are others in the pipeline, right? I mean,
there are the Clean 2 efforts for the SOD1 gene malfunction. That's showing progress. So we hope we can continue to make that progress, find those remedies that ease the symptoms, and I think it's time that we get a cure.
I think it's way time we get a cure. I'm with you all the way. And you can be sure I'll be contacting all of my senators because I have a place in Delaware too. I can do double duty on this one. But is ALS more prevalent among men, women, or how does it break down? Just out of curiosity, actually.
It hits us equally.
Equally, okay.
It's more prevalent with veterans.
Why? What is that about?
They think there may be a connection between the fuel and potentially the trash dumps to former President Biden's advocacy. So but there is people are twice as likely.
I had no idea. Does the VA do research? I guess that's just a general question. Does the VA do research on remedies, or they rely on, how does that work? I don't know.
So they do. There is something called the Civilian Directed Medical Program, CDMP.
Okay.
That does research. House appropriators recently doubled funding, and they do recognize as a service-related disability.
Wow. Okay, interesting. Are there centers of excellence where most of the research is taking place on this? Like, what are the leaders in the research in this particular field of ALS?
It's scattered about a little bit. Hopkins up in Baltimore and Mayo Clinic, and I'm trying to think of
anywhere in California, like Stanford or anything like that.
I think they are. There's a group out at Stanford that's working hard on this, and there are others who are active, unaffiliated.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
You know, the good thing about another good thing, I should say, it's not all the good thing,
Yeah.
but another good thing is that the Act for ALS encourages sharing of data,
Critical.
researches. So it's not just island here, island there.
Yeah.
They all work together.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because my next question was about AI, artificial intelligence. And, I have my concerns about it, but I also see the potential, particularly in research, where data, and again, trust and verify and all of the caveats you would say about data in, garbage out, all of that still holds. But the efficiency and the rate that one could eliminate things that may just not stand a chance is so much greater that I am very enthused by the potential of AI, which I know is already being leveraged for exactly this kind of research, that perhaps we could speed up even part of the process so that we could then really meticulously do the next level testing and so on and so forth. But you have to have hope in terms of where we're headed. And this is exciting to hear that we're really making strides.
I think it is. And if you can take away, to your point, the drudgery of the research, trying this, trying that. If AI can get through that and identify the more promising pathways, then maybe it will accelerate.
Yeah, absolutely. For physicians, neurologists who see patients with ALS, is there a particular specialization? Like, do you see a neurologist whose specialty or subspecialty is ALS, or your general garden variety neurologist sees ALS patients as well? How does that work?
Well, the gold standard are these clinics. So I go out to Loudoun County, Virginia, and Dr. Joseph Choi heads up our practice.
Okay.
And, I see Dr. Choi, I see specialties in occupational therapy, physical therapy, respiratory, the gamut.
Yeah.
So it is tremendously valuable. Every quarter, I go out to clinic and spend a couple hours with them and get this intense team approach to.
That's fantastic. I did not wow. I wish we had something like that for Brian. Would have been really helpful in that regard. Huh.
I wish they did. I think it's a great approach.
It really sounds like such a no-brainer idea, but that's so convenient too. And you get everything right there. Wow.
Very much so. So you're not going to this
5 million different trips and yeah. Oh my God. Can they do some diagnostic work there as well at the clinic? Is it set up so if you need, I don't know, scans or blood or whatever, I imagine you could do that too.
At the hospital, but I participate in the Innova healthcare system.
Yeah, I'm familiar with them. I used to be in Virginia. Yeah.
Okay. So they're very organized, and the Shar Institute building on Innovation Drive is the center of many of those. So we know that building very well.
The mothership, yeah.
The mothership.
There you go. Oh my God. And does Janet go with you to all these visits?
She does, and she needs to or wants to hear it directly. And as a practical matter, she loads me into the back of the van, straps me in, and then drives me to the appointment.
Yeah. So you're not driving anymore at this point, typically?
No, late in 25, I said, I can't drive anymore.
Yeah.
I don't feel safe.
Yeah. Good decision. Always better safe than sorry. Yeah. I hardly drive anymore myself, to tell you the truth, between my eyes and everything else. Oh my gosh. But, I just am so happy to hear that this progress is out there and that there is advocacy in ways we can help, because that's the one thing you want to do, is be able to do something. At least for me, I don't like just sitting around. So In terms of helping people get the word out, once we get this up on the website, Neil, we'll make sure to put the websites for I AM ALS and ALS Association. If there are other resources, if you have anything on the legislation you've been mentioning, you can send it to me and I'm happy to include that so people can learn more about it. Are there things happening at the state level as well, or is this primarily a federal issue at this point?
Primarily federal, but
Okay.
there are also state initiatives and
Okay.
state associations who focus on support, focus on what the states can do, for example, for caregivers and the like.
Yeah. So there's a lot to all the wraparound beyond the research. Okay. All right. So anything you have that you think would be helpful to share so people can learn more, I'm happy to include that. And before I let you go, and I want to be very respectful of your time, you've been more than generous. As you know, I shared with you that I ask all of our people that I talk to share a song that best reflects their life at the moment. And we want to add it to the Health Dame playlist because of the music brain connection. And that's sort of an homage to Brian and his love of music and my work with music and the brain. So all of that is to say, Neil, what song am I including for you?
I would ask for the Rolling Stones, You Can't Always Get What You Want.
There you go. Perfect. And it was Mick Jagger's birthday yesterday.
Was indeed.
Yeah.
Was indeed.
So let me have to write it down or I won't remember. You can't always get what you want. Isn't that true?
If you try sometimes, you'll not find you'll get what you need.
There you go. So you're still singing and dancing. Okay.
Yes, I am.
Perfect. Get what you need. All right, Neil, a real pleasure to
It
see
has
you
been.
again and have time to talk with you. And as I mentioned many times, you just reach out and let me know and I'm going to help fight the good fight and be there. And I can get Brooklyn on anyone you need me to get Brooklyn on. You just pick up the phone and I'm your man. So there
Oh,
you go. It was
wonderful.
great to see you. Be
Great to
well,
see you.
and I will be in touch. I'm glad you're feeling better, and I'll let you know when we're up and posted, and we'll keep spreading awareness because it's obviously really important to do that. So my best to Janet and the rest of your family, and I think it's pretty nice out today. So hopefully you'll get outside some. I haven't been outside myself yet, but that's the plan. It's before it gets dark anyway. So.
You can't beat that Chamber of Commerce weather we had recently. That was just gorgeous.
It was really astonishing. So we'll take it. After that heat
Amen.
dome business, yeah,
Mhm.
that was miserable. All right, my friend, you take care.
You
I'll be
take
in
care,
touch.
Robin.
Thanks
Great
for
to see
everything
you.
you're doing. All right,
Thank
bye
you.
now.